Good evening. It's Monday. It is Quizzy Monday, and we are back. We've got a really nice lineup for you tonight. It was the second Only Connect semi-final, so we get to chat to some of those players. We've got Dan, Harry, and Claire from the Also Rounds. We have Pam from the Mercians. And I think we've also got Ian from the Mercians coming in as well. So we'll have some good chat about Only Connect. We'll cover off Mastermind and the predictions competition. We'll give you the results subject to audit. We'll talk a little bit about Mastermind. We'll talk a little bit about University Challenge. But our focus tonight will be on Only Connect. Now, before we get going with the guests, a few things to remind you of. And starting off, last night was the World Quiz Awards. We had a very good hour and a half reviewing 2023, paying tribute to those we lost last year, and also giving prizes to people for all sorts of things, from World Quizzer of the Year to Competition of the Year. So if you want to check out that, that's on our YouTube channel here on All Things Quiz, and you can watch that show back, and you can skip past the bits with me in if you want. So just check that out. Now, what else we had? The winner. Well, we're going to be seeing him very shortly. The winner of What Is the Question last week. The answer was pen. And the question for that was by Harry Heath, applauded by Paul Sinha online, no less. It was, in Greek myth, what are the first three letters of the name of Odysseus' wife? The remaining letters of her name describe an action that she refused to do in Odysseus' absence. So you can see why he's in such a good Only Connect team with a fiendish mind like that. Well done, Harry. This week's answer in need of a question is lemon. You can have a vote on the long list at tinyurl.com/WITQlemon. And again, on Wednesday, we will give you the final for you to vote on to find a winner. Lunchtime quiz time is every day. This was today's question. Which defender who plays for San Diego Wave and started every game for the US women's national team at the 2023 World Cup was named US Soccer's Female Player of the Year in January 2024? Some days the questions are dead easy, some days they're more challenging, but then we give you additional information to help you learn a bit as you go. That's Mastermind Predictions. We won't get to that just yet. So just to let you know, obviously you can chat in the comments. Catherine Burkett gave us a little bit too much information earlier, but she is back. Gerard saying, how do? Pam, she's chatting away while she's waiting to be in the discussion today. Well, let's get her on, because who knows what she'll be saying otherwise, the mischief Pam will be causing. So let us bring on the Also Rounds. We've got Harry, we've got Claire, we've got Dan, and from the Mercians, we've got Pam, and we've got Ian. Hello, everybody. Let's see. That's better. Evening all. Oh, and Polly is here as well.
Of course.
You cannot have Pam without Polly. They're like peaches and cream. So welcome all. That was a brilliant semi-final, and we knew the two teams were going to be highly competitive, but that final, that last round, it just took it right to the wire. Going into that match, did you think, this is going to be, I mean, you're against semi-finalists, it's going to be tough, but did you think it was going to be that tight?
Yeah.
Probably. It seems to me there were a lot of tight matches. So our previous in the quarterfinal against the Video Nasties, that was a one-pointer. So and we'd heard from other matches that there'd been a lot of tight matches. We'd heard about a tiebreaker or two. So the standard of the teams just meant that it was unlikely you were going to have a runaway victory. And that's exactly what happened. It was super tight.
Besides, we've played each other multiple times.
We have. In Cockle, yes. Honours roughly even, I think.
We know our strengths of each team, so we know. I think we all know precisely what we're getting into.
Yeah.
Because we played you in the last season of Cockle, and you beat us again by 1 point, didn't you? I think.
But I think you've beaten us as well.
Yeah, the previous time, I think. Yeah, maybe that made us too
confident. It was a bit nerve-wracking to go into the final round being 1 point down, because we know what Jamie's like on vowels.
It did make for a funny moment in the connections online when we did win by a point just in this past season, that we all had to sort of smile and go, not give anything away to the host.
Nothing away. Give nothing away. I mean, it was from the off. I mean, we've seen a number of games recently where a lot of questions have gone unanswered. I think that a sign of the quality of the two teams we had tonight was that wasn't the case this time round. I think every question was answered in round one. I think in round two, it was it was just such a good match. When you're going into a game, a semi-final like that, what's your mindset? Is it keep it tight, make sure you don't make any stupid mistakes, or as we saw, there's a 5-point chance comes along. It's going to be tight, so actually we need to seize an opportunity and take a risk.
It didn't feel like too much of a risk, actually, did it? We were pretty certain on that one.
I think it was probably the one we were most certain on of every question in the show.
Yeah.
But you're right, Gareth. I think on every match so far, so this is our fourth match, we've gone first. And when you go first, you obviously want to get points on the board. But I think it's maybe 3 times we haven't got the first question right. So we've either fallen behind or felt we've dropped points. So we have felt a bit sort of backs against the wall from the off throughout. And I guess that does slightly affect your gameplay. You're prepared to take a few more risks if you're behind, particularly against a strong team. Where you can't keep asking for extra clues and going down to 1 point because it might not be enough.
And is it dispiriting when you don't know the answer and the other team pick it up? Because it happens, but obviously it can be so tight. When you see the other team pick it up, does that kind of knock your confidence a little bit, as it was with that first question where the Mercians picked up Bermuda Triangle?
Yeah, I think because it kind of feels a bit like it's like in any quiz where when things go over, it's kind of like not only have you missed out on a point, it's kind of I compare it to doing an OQL game where it's no free guess. So you either get 2 points or you essentially give them 2 points by taking a neg or things like that. So it feels heavier than it is probably, but you all know it can all change in the missing vowels, as we've seen many times over many series. Sometimes it can be over 5 points behind and can come back. So it's never over until it's over.
I think it's far worse when the other team have a question that you feel you would have got for 5 or for 3, and they take it all the way down to the last clue, and you're waiting to pounce, and then they get it. And you think,
that's annoying. When you think it's coming and they get it at the last second.
Yeah, that seems to happen in football, doesn't it? You think, oh gosh, I wish you got this one.
It's
not sure if we would have got the Nobel Prize winners, though. Would we have got it?
I wouldn't.
I wouldn't have got it, actually. Certainly not for 5. I don't know if Jamie might have done.
I wouldn't have got it for 5.
We might have given it to you for 1, maybe.
It just happened to be the year that I learnt the Nobel Prize winners.
I think we all got it simultaneously. It felt quite nicely for us. It was a straight up general knowledge question, that one.
Well, that's what we said to Victoria when we were waiting to do the wall. We said they're proper quizzes. They've learnt all the Nobel Prize winners, not like us Sunday quizzes.
I think the studio manages something like that, but you're more of the knowledge based, and we are more probably of the puzzle, solving the puzzles and the lateral thinking.
Yeah. It's interesting. Interesting seeing a couple of teams who have that slightly different profile. I do wonder, for part of me watching this, it felt like there were a number of incidents where teams could conceivably kick themselves for missed opportunities. And I think Mercians, Jamie said that's 21-12 by Rush, and I'm thinking, okay, then that's palindromic. And then it's the and that's palindromic. And
I don't think I heard what he said.
Yeah, but both of those were mentioned. And I'm thinking, you've identified the songs, it's there. And I just wondered the degree to which you kick yourself. But then also, Rans, I think Harry on that the Napoleon one. I think you came in with Napoleon on that first first one. So I guess it swings around about. It both happens, but I'm an overanalyzer. So if it was me, I would be kind of pouring through all that. Is that the sort of thing that happens to you after the match? It's like, we should have, could have.
Well, that first one, it could have been ABBA as much as it could have been Napoleon. So
true.
Yeah, there are a lot of things it could have been. I think in our previous round, if you remember, we had a picture round that we could have gone for 5 on Simon and Garfunkel songs.
Yeah.
And we ended up taking 3 clues. And I think we kicked ourselves over that a little bit more than the ones on tonight's show, because there were too many other things that they could have been. So I don't feel like we did ourselves out of too many potential points certainly in rounds 1 and 2.
And we didn't kick ourselves about it at the time, but rewatching our wall, I think, because I forget the wall entirely. So I was like,
I hardly remembered any of it.
I still didn't know the links, and I was like, well, I can see a few hearts there. There's definitely a heartbreaker and stuff. And I was like, why aren't we seeing this? This seems like this is only Connect bread and butter stuff. Adding a word and putting things in front, but we just didn't see it. We spent too long looking at fabrics, I think.
Watching it back tonight, we didn't see your wall. So watching it tonight and seeing how close you were to not getting it, and thinking, oh, if only. So all of a sudden solved it right at the end, didn't you?
I think consecutive late solve, with a second or 2 to go.
It did look like you weren't going to get it. And again, I think a lot of this kind of psychology of it is quite interesting, because at a point it felt on your wall also, Rans, that there was almost, I wouldn't quite say panic, but you could see that the tone of the voice was changing. There was a little bit more kind of urgency, but you never fell apart as a team. You never kind of just absolutely got kind of lost or brain freeze, and you managed to pull it out. Is that what comes from playing with each other a lot?
Yeah, definitely.
Must be.
We've been on a run of an entire season of connections online, so I think we've played in the format 10, 12 consecutive weeks plus our only Connect games. So we had a pretty strong wall pedigree going into it, and I think you learn not to panic when you're down to like 20 seconds. There's still a lot of time to solve the wall, and all you need is a connection. And as soon as you get that, everything drops into place. And you could see, we were spent ages looking at it, and then Harry just noticed Latin and Greek, and then the whole wall fell into place as soon as we saw that. From when Harry said Latin and Greek, I think we solved the whole thing in 10 seconds. So that's all you need. It certainly wasn't a panic, but I remember at the time, I couldn't see the heart one. So I remember there's breaker, and I was thinking tie breaker, circuit breaker, record breaker. I was even thinking of the former West Ham defender, Tim Breaker. I just couldn't see heart. But I knew it was a word one. I knew it was something went before, and I didn't have time to have 3 guesses. So I put in the 3, and it was one other, and it just looked like Phelps was the only thing that also meant something else. So that was the obvious one to go for. So I could see the timer counting down to the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and so there was time to put it in, but there was never a panic. And that just comes from practice, doing it week in, week out, I think. Yeah.
And that's something that's now available that wasn't in previous years, thanks to connections online Quiz League, that people can play these matches and get used to playing together. In that first couple of rounds, are there any questions that you were particularly happy with getting? Ian and Pam, let's start with you. Any questions that you were proud of picking up?
The Swiss languages one, I was.
Yes.
Translating French and German on a tiny screen like this. But it was kind of, it was kind of obvious once you got to the fourth, clue that it was Switzerland, and it should have been obvious maybe after 3 clues.
Yeah.
But it was interesting that I was sort of going into translation mode and quizzing mode, and they're completely different mental modes. Trying to translate into English and work out what they mean, and then try and extrapolate a link between them.
Yeah,
I thought it was a really nice question as well.
Yeah, nice. Pam, any that you were pleased with in that first couple of rounds? I mean, I'm looking at Mercy's. The one that Jamie got. The one on the cube number scores was nice. You picked up your music one.
Love that.
I knew a bit of music. You've got something as old as Right Said Fred on, that I actually recognise.
Now, music connection is quite an interesting one. We had the first ever music connection, and although we were aware of what it was, we very quickly lapsed into round 1 mode and started looking for a connection rather than thinking of the sequence, because that's what you do with music. Is it hard to get yourself out of that mode yourselves when you're listening to the music? You're so used to what is the connection between these song titles or these acts or something. be thinking a different way about it.
Yeah, I think the trouble is when you hear one and then you think, then you've gone to the next one, then I forgot what the first one was.
I don't
trying to
really
work out
recognise
what
any of
they
them
are.
anyway.
Yeah, same here. I mean,
I just sort of said enough. I thought, oh, it's something with that and something with right. And luckily, Jamie just deciphered enough of what I said.
Saw the
Yeah.
significance of it.
Yeah.
The left, up, right, down, and we did get a little bit of singing. I noticed the Merskins didn't want to sing, but
I think I've mentally repressed that memory because I couldn't remember that.
I've been wanting to sing all series, and then when I do, they cut it out.
Tell us about that, Claire. So what they
Well, we
cut
sang
out
Downtown because they put Downtown on the screen, and they decided that Downtown would actually sound better than Status Quo Down, which it did. And then they don't put it in. What's that all about?
Did they do that?
We sang Downtown after we.
Yeah, I seem to remember singing Downtown.
There's no recollection of that at all. Completely
well, I remember it because she said I had a lovely voice, so naturally I remember it.
Well, Downtown's a much nicer song than Down, Down, Deeper and Down, isn't it?
It is.
It is, but maybe it's a bit longer. Maybe the problem is down, down, deeper and down. You one line of that and that's enough. Whereas Downtown, you probably have to have so much. And
we all took quite a long time on our walls, so they probably had to cut a lot of stuff out.
Yeah.
Yes, that's if you use your full time on the wall. It's another matter. Also, rounds, first 2 rounds. Any questions that you were particularly pleased with getting?
The sheet music.
Yeah, that was pretty special.
Still impressed with
but I do have to say that I knew that tune not from listening to Radio 4, but from listening to a YouTube compilation of Radio 4 theme tunes. That's why I said it was Desert Island Discs when it was sailing by.
But if that was played, if that was a round 1 music connection, fair enough, you're recognizing the song. But knowing the song and recognizing it from the sheet music, do you sight read, Claire?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
That is a distinct advantage.
I used to sight read. I mean, I used to play the first one.
Oh wow!
You can see me going like that and squinting. I just take the pictures when it goes over so small. I just lose interest.
The first one was God Save the Queen, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah.
Victoria seemed to say that I'd been humming it and not recognising the tune or something, which
yes, which you did.
Well, I'm not a great royalist anyway. So I didn't think I was humming it in any recognisable way. Oh well.
So that was definitely a highlight. Dan, what about you? Was there a highlight question for you?
Yeah, I mean, because it was a close game, every single point could be the crucial point, and one that I think maybe 2 of us got it. Certainly one that I only saw on 1 clue was the mic drop one. So it was I didn't know the first one, didn't know the second one, and then the Obama thing came up, and the only thought I could you sort of try and clutch at the most random thing in the back of your mind, and I knew there's a famous sort of internet meme on Twitter where Obama sort of puts his fingers to his lips and drops the mic, and I thought possibly that could be it, and it sort of fitted the 4th clue. So by going for that and it being right, it would have been easy to say I haven't got a clue, but you have to sort of reach for the smallest sliver of knowledge that you've got and hope it fits, and it did in that case, and it got us a point that turned out to be crucial.
Yeah, because I think for me the only other thing I associate that correspondence dinner with is him ripping the piss out of Donald Trump.
Yes, I remember. Yeah.
And it's like that's unlikely to be something that follows the other links.
What I did like about the first 2 rounds is that often on Only Connect, because the answers come through the captain, it can sometimes look like the other 2 team members aren't visibly contributing as much as they do. But I thought tonight it really showed all 3 of us. So Harry with the Napoleon question, Claire with the music, and so on. It really showed that all 3 of us were equally contributing to the team effort.
Yeah, fantastic performance. Got a comment here from Jack Whaley-Cohen, question producer. Fun fact, the sheet music question was one of the most expensive we've ever done. trying to make the music big enough for teams to see and failing, sorry, Pab, and then formatting to avoid strobing.
Wow, that is interesting.
That is
I'm
interesting.
glad we got it. I'm glad we got it now, because if they'd gone to all that effort and we were just like, no.
It's a good job you didn't say anything disparaging. Oh, terrible graphics.
Yeah.
So,
Can we please come back and sing some more?
I'd like to, those plasma screens in the studio could be bigger though.
Well, there you go,
Don't
Jack.
encourage
Take
them
that
to get
one
some big
away.
ones,
Also, if ever there's a sheet music reading special of Only Connect, and Cab is up for that. Somebody we like shapes is saying money well spent. So it's a different type of question, though, isn't it? And it tests a different type of knowledge, which is good. Harry, what was your kind of favourite question then from that first couple of rounds?
Oh, so personally, it probably wasn't a Napoleon one, even though, as you say, we could have risked it earlier. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that really stood out. No, it all became. It was a blur at the time, and it's a blur
now.
Yeah.
I thought it was it was good. I think the Roman numerals one, I think I really liked it once it was explained, but I think I could have been sat there for a month of Sundays and never got it.
Yeah.
That's classic Only Connect for me in terms of once you hear the answer, it all makes sense. So that was good.
I like the way we all had something to add to the Andrea Getz question.
Yes, that was lovely as well, wasn't it? Yes. Yeah. So we went on to the... Sorry, Karen.
I was just going to say, I was just going back to the very start. I was annoyed that it was when it was revealed. It was when Jamie got it, it was the Bermuda Triangle for that person. Like, of course it is. Because I was like triangle and everything, and it was just that was another one where it's kind of like kicking up myself afterwards.
But you either get it or you don't in that moment, don't you? You need that flash of inspiration, and if it doesn't come, it doesn't come.
I just thought, that's a shame. That's a Jamie question.
He's such a player, isn't he? Such a good player. 9-7 going into the wall. So actually, it's anyone's game at that point. Also, Rans, you're ahead, so you're feeling good, I assume. But with a 2-point lead, you know that actually that can on the walls can swing quite easily, and it did swing a little bit, didn't you? Mercians, you were up first. Pam, the love and joy that there was online for your Monty Python answer. Where did that come from?
I don't know, because I said Ian and Jamie, when we practiced, I said, the thing I always don't spot are things where there's a letter change. And I'd say, whenever I do that, I never spot these. For some reason, I don't know, just the first thing I saw was, that could be idle, and that could be. And the last thing we spotted was the cheese one for John Cleese.
Which was actually his name, wasn't it? So...
his name, yes.
That was such a good one to get early as well. I think that's critical for your team.
That really helped to thin out what was left.
Yeah.
And then there was...
Yeah, you got the milk
I
product.
just randomly said 5 for one of them. I said, what can go at the end? And then Jamie picked up. He sort of listens to what I say sometimes, and then he works out what the rest of them are.
And then
we sort of fire out things, and he sort of forms them into an answer, doesn't he?
It's not could be this, could be that, and then he worked. That fits.
How it works.
And when you had those last two groups to solve, even again, it's a little bit like we're saying with Dan and the also rounds. Even with like that horrible sound of because you got it wrong. There was no panic. He was following the method, wasn't he? He was following the process to solve the wall.
Yeah, he worked out. It can't be that. It can't be that. That one can't be in one group. So.
Because very often you see teams press the same selection of things they've done previously because they're a little bit of panic and they're perhaps not kind of following a systematic process. But it was a very good solve, and for 10 points, you know that you're still in the game at that point. And you've got Jamie in your corner. You're all good at the game anyway, but Jamie is exceptional on missing vowels. So you're feeling good. We kind of touched on it anyway earlier about the also rounds wall and how you solved that. But what did the two teams think of each other's walls? Dan, Claire, Harry, what did you think of the Mercians' wall?
I think it was suitably tricky. I was kind of like, I'm
Yeah.
not sure if I spotted the more tight one. I was kind of, it was, yeah, I was kind of quite glad it wasn't our wall, but when you're watching on TV, you're never quite as engaged. So I don't know how we would have done really. But
yeah, I wouldn't have known the Sean Penn one, but I'm pretty confident Harry would be all over anything film related.
I could see the Sean Penns, but I not all of them. I had about 3, and I wasn't sure the last one.
I didn't remember he was in Taps, but it was like, well, I don't know what. Yeah, it's got to be Taps really, but yes, that was a tricky one. And vice versa, Pam and Ian watching the also rounds wall. Again, felt quite balanced to me. How did you feel watching it?
Yeah, it looked about the same.
Yeah.
I think I might have homed in on the films with the club.
Yeah, the club one was like the first thing you saw, wasn't it? When you said breakfast, it was like the first thing. But then finally,
it was equally tricky.
I guess for something like, because there were like about 7 different types of fabric, so
yeah,
I guess a sort of let's say less experienced team might just start panic jabbing 7 different buttons and spend most of the time trying to get those. I think we were quite consciously avoid them.
Well, we never do that if there's more than 5 of anything.
Yeah.
You just can't rotate around them, can you? You'd just be losing track of the permutations. So you need to solve something to clear out a red herring or 2. So it's 16-17 going into the missing vowels, knowing that there's a final at stake. I mean, you've got the luxury of knowing there's another game, but knowing there's a final at stake, what are the emotions like in that period, you know, between doing your wall and sitting down and the questions starting?
I think I was quite down at that point.
I can't remember.
Quite well.
There's not much time to think about it because you get given the score and then you're straight into missing vowels within 3 seconds. But one thing we were quite conscious of was that Jamie had a reputation going in that he's lightning hot at the buzzer. And I think before our previous match, Lewis had been telling us that as a reader of the predictions online, how amazing Jamie is on the buzzer to all of the posts. So we sort of said, "Oh, well, let's hope we don't go up against him and have to beat him on the buzzer." And when we were point behind, my only thought was we have to sort of collectively gang up on him. That's notwithstanding, Pam and Ian's contribution.
I think we kind of like, if he hasn't answered and we've got an answer, then we'll follow in. But, we kind of lean on him a bit,
No, I
okay,
don't.
let Jamie do his stuff.
I don't leave it to him. I'm always trying. It's just if I do know it, he's always there before me.
Yeah.
I never wait and see if he gets it. I'm always just a bit.
I think in our last match, I got a tribute band one. And that's the only time I've ever beaten him to
But you have won, Ian. That's the thing to reflect.
I got one. That made me feel good.
Just going back to Claire, you said you felt down. Is that due to knowing that you had been in the lead and now you were behind?
Well, we just dropped points on the wall. I was assuming that they had probably got 10. So I was assuming that we had a lead to make up into missing vowels, and I knew we'd be up against it.
Interesting. So it does kind of not.
Charlotte was trying to buoy me up when we were in the what would you call the cafe area where you're waiting to go back in again. Yeah. She was saying, "But you're good on missing vowels as well. You'll be fine."
And you were. I mean, that's the thing. That first set, the 4 rhyming words and what they are, immediately you kind of you wipe out that deficit and take a lead again. So, I mean, it went very well for you.
I didn't get a single one of the bike parts. I was late on all of those, and I thought, what?
I tried to buzz instantly on each of those bike ones, and it was still coming up like I said, Jamie's buzzer like wired differently to mine because literally can't be any quicker, and he's getting in ahead of us every time, and that was a bit worrying. So I think he got 3 in a row. Maybe was it 4?
Yeah.
4.
He got 3 on the bicycles. Yeah.
It meant it all came down to those last 2 poetry questions. I didn't realize at the time we were blurred, but it was we were 1 behind going into those last 2 questions.
Yeah.
Oh, I had no idea what the score was, as you could tell by my reaction at the end.
Yeah.
Well, I think Jamie buzzed in on that 3rd one, which I also was just on the verge of getting. Because it's one of my favourite poems. But no, the bell rang.
It was. I mean, it was just a great round in the sense that also rans you got 3-1, you pull yourselves into the lead. Then the Mercians you get 3-1, pull yourselves back into a 1-point lead. You don't know where
And
it's
then
going.
comes Jabberwocky. I was right.
It was brilliant indeed, wasn't it?
I thought that was a superb get because it was so easy just to, on a long answer, to stumble over one of the letters and just in your nervousness or haste. And
I have actually learnt Jabberwocky.
Yeah. And then Harry exactly the same on the second one. That I think I could just say it 5 times, 5 different ways.
Because I was so nervous about that one because I was worried about whether because I was
over, yeah.
Over. So if you were to rewatch it back, I noticed I kind of go as it floats on high, over vales and hill. Pause there.
Yeah.
Not getting
so you mentioned, Ian, the last buzz and the bell, and I don't know if it was ever made clear when we were on. At what point the round is over? Is it when the music starts playing? Is it when the music finishes playing? Because to me, you buzzed whilst the music was going, and clearly that was too late.
Yeah,
but
are
the players aware of this, and at what point it kicks in?
No, I don't think anybody mentioned it to us, did they? Did anyone mention it to you?
I vaguely recall Victoria saying that I might be completely making this up, but saying that like in earlier rounds, sometimes she's a bit flexible if someone's kind of like just on time, she kind of like allows it. But I might be confusing that with something else because she generally says that she's a little bit more lenient across the board in earlier rounds, and then things tighten up as you get closer to the end. So it might have been a bit like that.
Yeah, not our first one. I went against Video Nasties. Jamie got one right at the end, didn't he? We won by 1 point. That was as I can't remember the music was playing. I know it was very tight to the end.
I think it's because it was a long answer. If she had said Mercians and then one of you had started the answer, the music would have stopped and you'd still be saying the answer.
Yeah.
Maybe that was it. It was going to take it past the end of the music. Whereas if it's a really short answer, maybe she'd have allowed it.
I think it's if it hasn't. It's the opposite of Mastermind. If you haven't started, then she won't let you start.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was guessing, but I don't think it's ever kind of been made clear. And maybe there is more latitude, particularly in games where actually it doesn't matter, whether the team get the point or not. But I guess
if Jack's still watching, maybe he can tell us.
Maybe he can. I mean, I'm just wondering at which point a football game is over. Is it the first time, the first part of a whistle that you hear? The football game's over. I guess it could be like that. The first bar of music.
The B of the band
signals that time is up. It's an interesting one. Maybe somebody will be able to shed some light. But it was just a cracking game. Ian and Pam, you'd had such a phenomenal start to this series. Oh, hang on. Here we go. The rule now is that if Victoria Corin Mitchell starts talking, then it's too late, which is what happened here, if I remember correctly. She'd said too late, then Jamie buzzed, then the bell went. So that's the ruling, which is, as long as it's consistently applied, that is exactly what. And now he's watching it back to see if that actually happened. But I get, yes, that's the thing. As long as it's consistently applied, the people at home, we're the only ones who are ever really going to fret about it. People who play and people who are obsessive about it. But the rest, most of you aren't going to worry.
No, we've forgotten about it.
It's just always such a shock when the buzzer goes, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was praying for it. I knew what the score was.
Oh, you're counted, Dan.
Jamie always knows exactly what it's
I had no idea until she actually said who'd won. I'd got no clue.
If I were Jamie, I would have blurted the answer out anyway.
Yeah.
It would have been harder to deny him.
Yeah. So, as I was saying before, we got that message through from Jack. Have watched it back. That is what happened. So the rule was applied correctly, which is good because nobody wants another quiz show scandal. And Simon Fox, just check back on iPlayer. The answer against Video Nasties came before the music. There we go. Consistent application of the rules. So thank you, Simon. Thank you, Jack. Ian and Pam, I was saying, you started the season so well with that monster score and you had a very good performance. When you've lost a match like this where it's so tight, what are your kind of emotions? Are you really down and really gutted? Is it, we've got another game to play. This is great fun. We get to do another one. How do you process that when you must have been thinking of yourselves as potential champions?
No.
I think everybody goes into this thinks of themselves as potential champions, really, don't they?
We'd win. I just thought, let's have as many games as we can.
Yeah.
And if we beat
it's good fun. We had a nice time. We got into the third place playoff.
I don't
remember feeling gutted about it, to be honest.
No, I don't remember feeling particularly. I was thinking, we just told them that they've got to win.
Yeah.
We've beaten us.
And we still don't know if they did or not.
No, we don't know.
No, we've still got the something. We can still get something out of this series because we don't know how it all pans out in the end.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting whether I've told you or not, so I keep.
I told you not to tell me.
Clearly not. And the other two, Claire and Dan, have got these inscrutable faces.
Well, we did all go out for dinner that evening after the semi-final. There were no hard feelings.
Yeah. I mean, there's no sense having any hard feelings. It's a game, isn't it? It's it is what it is.
If there'd been big money involved, maybe I would have.
Well, hang on. That's what Gerard's saying. It's important to know because of the price and potential sponsorship deals.
Like Ant and Dex Limitless Only Connect or something. Won £1.5 million or something. Maybe there would have been a bit of ruefulness if we hadn't won. But
yeah. Well, Jamie Gallagher's got a question here for you, Dan. How would you have fancied yourself in a tiebreaker against Jamie?
That is a very good question, Jamie. And I did think about it, and I actually had a tactic. I figured if I'd left it to read it and work it out, I knew Jamie would beat me on the buzzer. So my tactic was to press instantly and hope that in the second to ask, I'll be able to work it out. There's no theme, but there is a theme. The theme is always something like every loser wins or winner takes it all or something like that.
Yeah.
So I thought I had a better chance of pressing and trying to work it out than just trying to beat Jamie on speed. So that would have been
That's probably his tactic as well, to be fair.
Yeah, which would have made it fair. So it would just be a speed.
I think that's definitely a valid tactic because there are certainly some types of clues where buzzing in and knowing you're going to get an extra second or so to work it out, that's going to play in your favour. But
if it was against anyone else, I would have tried to work it out. But against Jamie, I think you'd have had to have had a different tactic.
Okay, interesting. So Harry, Claire, Dan, you're into the final. We'll get to see that in 2 weeks' time, which is very exciting. Does that start to become real now? There was, I think it was Ian said, everybody comes into it thinking they can win, etc. But now you're actually in the match that can decide the title. Does that suddenly change the kind of, we're playing it for fun, this is a good lark, we're quizzing with our mates, etc. to, oh no, there's a piece of perspex available.
I think because the weird thing is, of course, because being on one side of the draw, both through doing connections and just through the general process of playing the games, we kind of knew our opponents a little bit, where we had no idea even who had made the other semi-final. So it wasn't until we heard, it wasn't until Pam contacted us that when they had the playoff game against Suncatchers, we could work out who we were up against. So that was a weird aspect of it, because up to that point, you kind of always have a bit of an inkling about who's round the corner.
Yeah. Interesting. And Dan, with a name like the Also Rans, it invites a lot of the sort of comments about.
It's been edited out.
No pressure, isn't it?
I think it's been edited out of every sort of introductory chat that we kept saying that we were very protective of our name. But I think I probably said the same thing in the final, so maybe they'll use that then. But I guess we've been 2 1-point wins in a row. But I still felt that we hadn't really had a perfect game, because in our last 3 walls we'd had 5 points, 7 points, 7 points, and we'd let a lot of points slip in our first couple of games. So I still felt
our first match was. Except I suppose we didn't score any points in round 2, did we? But we got
I still thought there was room for improvement going into the final. It wasn't like we'd peaked too early.
Yeah.
There was still potential, upside going into the final. That was my sort of thinking, I guess.
Interesting.
The point of being in the final is that it's either us or it's them, so you've got more of a chance than if you're just in the semi.
Yeah, exactly.
And
I guess the question is, what? Maybe I shouldn't ask this, but what do you change your name to if you end up winning? Or is that something we'll have to ask in 2 weeks' time?
I think we'll save that question for another time. Yeah.
Maybe we'll leave that one. Look, thank you so much, all of you, for coming on. It's been a delight as ever. We look forward to seeing Ian and Pam and the Mercians again next week against, is it the Suncatchers you're against, I think, next week?
Yeah.
And in 2 weeks' time, the Also Rans against the Thrifters. The teams have been just such gloriously good fun to watch this series, so we know we've got some more cracking games to come. But yeah, thank you, Harry, Claire, Dan, and Pam and Ian for coming on tonight. Really appreciate you chatting to us. And we are going to watch a short video now, and I'm going to try and avoid accidentally playing one of the ones from the World Quiz Awards. And when we come back, I'll be looking at Mastermind, and if any of the groups stay on, they are welcome to join that chat. But until then,
I'm going to disappear.
Everybody. Okay, see you later. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Thanks.
There's so much going on in the quiz world, it can be really hard to keep on top of it all. Let us do it for you with the All Things Quiz newsletter. News from All Things Quiz and from the wider world of quiz delivered to your inbox every Tuesday. Sign up at allthingsquiz.com or scan this QR code. And Dan, you're still with us.
I thought I'd stay for a few minutes if that's all right, Gareth.
Awesome. Yes. So Mastermind. Now before we chat about the episode particularly in detail, these were the most popular guesses and the predictions. Kilmphilby, there's 3 names in there. Brecon, Donbury Manor, Litzel Friedman, Theodore Malley. Chess, the musical name, Page Murray, Head Timorice, none of those came up. I don't think any of the Castles of North Wales predictions came up. Beaumaris, Carnarvon, Conwy, and the Life of Thomas Hardy, Athol Hampton, Emma Gifford, George Meredith. So those were the most common predictions, but maybe not treading the familiar furrow was the way to go. And let's have a look. Joe Ashdown, 5 points today. Michael McPartland, 4. A bunch of people with 2 points and some with 1, which means that the predictions table is subject to audit. So if you have any kind of quibbles or queries, drop us a line and we'll look into it. But the table looks like this. Philip Isaac is still 3 points ahead of Ed Mason. Pam in 3rd, Toby Atala 4th, etc. You can see there. The full table is going to be on our website as of later tonight. And if you are subscribed to our newsletter, you'll get to see that. Dan, as a Mastermind finalist, what did you make of tonight's subjects for starters?
Well, I always try and look at the subjects and work out which you're sort of trying to have a guess as to how well you think you'll do based on people's subjects. And the first thing I thought of when I saw the chap who did Welsh castles is that there's going to be loads of really tough to pronounce names, and there's a lot of castles, and so I
there are a lot.
And there's so much history behind each one. So if it said Harlech Castle was a subject or Carnarvon Castle, then there's enough material for each of those individual castles. And actually, before our match, our only Connect match before our semi-final, myself, Harry, and Claire took a trip to Caerphilly Castle just for the day, and there was so much history behind that you could read up on. So I figured that was such a wide subject that a tough set of questions might contribute to him struggling, which unfortunately was the case. Whereas the lady who did Thomas Hardy, sort of one person, if with an author, it can go up one of two. If it goes into in-depth sort of micro management of the books, then that could be really tough. But if it's more just about the life, then actually that makes it a little bit more accessible. So as ever in Mastermind, picking the right subjects is really key to how well you're going to do on specialist subjects.
But picking the subjects and then preparing well, and I think with Julie Ashcroft, who did Thomas Hardy, we saw somebody who'd done her prep. She'd nailed, the works of, the life of, the people in the life of, the places in the life of, I think there was one that she passed, and she passed on that quickly, but everything else she picked up. And I guess you recognize it when you've done it yourself. Somebody who has really kind of nailed that preparation. And I was full of admiration. And the only question was, will she be able to follow it up with her general knowledge?
And what's super impressive as well when you watch a specialist subject is you can almost see how quickly people are working out the answer as the question's being asked, and they fire it out instantly. Whereas other players, they sometimes have to stop and think and then trawl back. And that cumulative time, if you take 2 seconds per question, you've cost yourself 20 seconds of dead time. So it's really impressive that when you see players who already know the answer before the end of the question.
And presumably, you must have been like that yourself to get to a final, that you're halfway through a question and think, I know where this is heading. Unless there's a real swerve in here, I know what you're getting at, and you're kind of preparing your answer. I guess there's maybe a danger in that you're not properly listening. But
to an extent, but also what you're trying to do, I guess, is you're trying to work out what's going to be the last word of the question, so that you can fire out the answer as he's saying it, to really get the answer in quick, because you're trying to avoid dead time and get as many questions in as possible.
Well, at least we know with Clive Myrie that you don't then go into a second sentence, which was always the jeopardy with John Humphreys. Rachel Fullard did another biographical subject. Kim Philby did pretty well on it, 9. Gerard last week predicted in the chat the first answer of tonight's Chess the Musical set with Morano. So well done, Gerard. He even went and wrote the lyrics. I thought that was an interesting one. I like Chess the Musical. I saw the original run. I've seen it at touring productions multiple times. But I thought, could that be just too narrow a subject? But it felt like they dove quite deep into it, into the pre-musical, the recording album, the tours, the production side of things, performers. It felt like there was enough depth to it. Did you feel that it had that depth?
Yeah, I think it needed it, because if it was just, you watched the musical for a couple of hours and it was just questions on what happened in that 2-hour period, then obviously that'd be a bit too simple. So what people who haven't been on the show might not know is that there is an opportunity to discuss with the producers the breadth of your subjects, and sometimes they'll ask you to expand it a bit, and sometimes they'll give you the opportunity to narrow it down. And also you can discuss your source material, so that at home you wouldn't know exactly what had been discussed, but I would imagine with a subject like chess that they would have set out the parameters of the subject, which you need really, because you need to think, well, how far do I need to go? Do I need to learn foreign language versions? Do I need to know the careers of actors who have been in it, and so on? So there is a little bit more that goes on behind the scenes to Mastermind than perhaps is obvious.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's about defining those parameters, so you know when to stop. When you've covered everything. And with something like that, there was a Broadway cast recording. It had additional songs. Are you needing to learn the Broadway cast? Are you learning? it would be too open-ended, so you have to define it, and then you can deal with it. And I thought Edison actually did very well on that set. Only missed one, a quick pass, I think, on somebody on the production side of things. Gerard in the chat, only got the first 3 when watching. Morano, Dennis Quillian, Budapest. I think, what did I get? I think the Gary Kasparov one I picked up, and I would have known the Freddie Trumper one, but they were so quick on it. I didn't get it out in time. But it was, it was a very good performance as well from Edison. I was very impressed. Harry,
it does surprise me a little bit that people pass on their specialist subjects. I can understand if you go blank on a general knowledge, but obviously we all know that it's best not to pass. But if it's your specialist subject, it's probably easier to think of an answer than it is on a general, not like what's the title of a book that you've never heard of. So I was a little bit surprised to see a couple of passes in the specialist subjects tonight.
Yeah, but we all know what can happen when you're in that chair, and that sort of mild panic. It's and sometimes maybe that quick pass, maybe that's the right thing, but you never think that when you end up in a tie and you end up losing on passes. So Harry is still knocking around. He says in the chat, I just wanted the post-presidency of Jimmy Carter. No dice there. Well, maybe that would be a great subject once Jimmy shuffles off this mortal coil and there can be a complete biography of him. But maybe Harry just in a few years' time. You never know. Although, did you do Jimmy Carter before? I can't remember.
Yeah, Harry did Jimmy Carter.
Yes, that's it. So I don't think they'll let you do, Jimmy Carter the sequel, Jimmy Carter the Wilderness Years ad nauseum. So we had, say, Julie was in the lead, and then it came to general knowledge, and she smashed it out of the park there. She got 14. I was just very impressed by her. When you watch somebody like her, are you thinking, this is a contender? If she prepares her specialist subject as well, and she does well in general knowledge, she's going to be up there in the semi-finals at least.
Yeah, I think when I watch it, you'd expect potential finalists to get on or close to double figures on their specialist subject and beat that score in the general knowledge. So I'd probably say for someone hoping to get to semi-final or final, around 12, 13 would be a par score, and anything above that, so you're getting into the mid-20s, would be you'd hope it would be a winning score. And I think the three previous contenders had, was it 16, 17, 18 or 17, 18, 19. So the fact as soon as she got to 20 and she was over the hill and far away, it was really impressive, and with a good range of answers as well. Like, she showed a real breadth of knowledge on a lot of different subjects, which was
she did. Yeah, I mean, she ended up with 26, which is one of the highest scores we've had this series. I think, the chap, Mark Davis, who did the castles, I think he'll be kicking himself, because I think his 12 points in general knowledge was good enough that actually, if he'd nailed his specialist subject, he would have been in the shake-up to win the episode, maybe put some pressure on Julie that might have meant she was a bit more nervy in her play or a bit more rushed. But realistically, when she only needed 8 to win, it would have been catastrophic really if she didn't manage that, and she did it with ease. Very well, very impressed with her. So good episode. Well done to Julie. Thank you very much to her. Dan, I think you didn't watch University Challenge, did you?
No, I'm going to go off and have my tea and watch that now.
Enjoy your tea. We'll be back after this short advert. Thanks for joining us, Dan.
Cheers. My pleasure.
Thank you.
See you soon. Cheers.
Have you been waiting for a range of quiz merchandise to come on the market? Then wait no more. Whatever type of quizzer you are, whether you're a flashcarder, or you quiz with pride, or want to celebrate great quizzes like Millionaire Champions, or Bill McCaig, the king of 15 to 1, or your favourite TV shows, or even your favourite YouTube channel, where do you go? The answer's loading. It's tinyurl.com/ATQ store. Now, if you watched the World Quiz Awards yesterday, you will have seen Sarah Trevathan on the show, former Brain of Britain, last year's Breakthrough Quizzer of the Year. She was wearing our answer loading t-shirt. So thank you very much, Sarah, for your support. And if you want to get some merch, go to tinyurl.com/ATQ store. Now, we are not going to be doing nominations for Quizzer Team of the Week tonight or Quiz Week news because we did so much for the World Quiz Awards that we're just a little bit behind on compiling the contemporary, the last week kind of news. So we will get to that and release that during the week. We'll put that out on our social media channels. The last thing tonight is University Challenge, Manchester versus Birkbeck. The return of Danny McMillan. If I'd noticed it was Danny McMillan this week, then I would have tried to get him on the show. But because of the World Quiz Awards, no, didn't spot that. Danny is a great guest and a great quizzer. But today it wasn't his day. It was Manchester's day. Senna Hadira did very well, but Grady was star of the show with his buzzes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 buzzes. It was just a very, very good performance from Manchester. They got the first buzz, and then there was a lot of trading of buzzes by Birkbeck. Birkbeck really couldn't capitalise on their bonus attempts. And Manchester just put a little bit of a run together in the second half of the show and took it away from Birkbeck. The good thing for Birkbeck is, of course, that they get another shot at it because this is the round where you need to win twice to get through, so they can afford to have lost a game. I don't expect them to be quite so subdued next time round. Whereas Manchester, very, very strong performance across all 4 players. They are now starting to look like contenders. They've been averaging 200 points a match going into that game. They got 160 points in this match. So, they're a strong team. We'll be interested to see how they play going forward. So, well done, Manchester. When we come to do the nominations, they will get a nomination for Team of the Week, as well, of course, the also rans from Only Connect and Julie from Mastermind. We will update you on all of that going forward. So that is it for Quizzy Monday for this week. There's still chat going on about Jimmy Carter. And Gerard, never one to kind of miss a gag. Rabbits versus Carter. Carter's unstoppable sex machine. Jimmy Carter and the Killer Rabbit attack. There's a whole Wikipedia page on it. You heard it here first. Has Jimmy Carter done the electric boogaloo? I love the fact that you guys, can just let us witter along in the background whilst you have your chats in the chat. We will be back next week. It will be the 3rd, 4th place playoff for Only Connect, so we'll try and get some of those folk on as guests. And we'll kind of be back to normal as we see the last couple of weeks of Only Connect on the show. Don't forget, you can vote for no, you can't vote for Quizzer and Team of the Week. I'm on autopilot, but you can go and watch the World Quiz Awards elsewhere on All Things Quiz. Just have a look at that. It's great, an hour and a half of celebrating the best of quizzing from the last year. So look at the World Quiz Awards. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already done that. You can vote for What is the Question at tinyurl.com/WITQlemon. Look out for Lunchtime Quiz Time every day. And if you want to play What is the Question, follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and you can join in on Sunday morning when we release the latest word in need of a question. That's it for tonight. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Those watching live and those watching catch up. Have a brilliant week. We will see you again 7 days' time, and we'll do it all again. Until then, enjoy quiz. Good night, everybody.